is, by far, your biggest fear? Story 1. That, in some way, I'll sit down at my kitchen table in 30 years and realize I partied too hard my life. Story 2. Dementia. It's so scary both for the person suffering from it and the people around. I hope they find a cure soon. Story 3. My kid's going missing. I can't imagine a worse feeling than having no idea if they're alive, being trafficked, tortured, who knows? At least, if I had to watch them die, I'd know. But that's probably my second biggest. Story 4. Losing my loved ones, especially my kids before their time, closely followed by dying young myself and not being around for my family. Story 5. That I will never be able to change how I think or process information, and in turn, it makes me believe I am a terrible person who has periods of self-actualization and reflection, and I'm just really good at masking what a horrible person I am, and when people get close to me, I hurt them or push them away, so they don't come to realize I have no real emotional depth or attachments, and will realistically never have real connections with anyone. I use people for what they can do for me. I realized that in middle school. I lost lifelong schoolmates over it, and I honestly don't care. Chalk it up to just growing up. I'm almost 40 now. I discard people when they no longer serve a purpose. I don't even know I'm doing it sometimes. And other times I will plan out how to sabotage relationships, so people leave me. Red flag on the play. I don't mind playing the bad guy red flag, and that's a serious issue. I am not a good person. I'm not proud of who I am. I'm honestly scared. I will never be able to change, even with professional help. I have anxiety thinking about why I do things. Is it because I'm nice? No. Or do I want something from someone? Usually, always yes. Therapists just teach you techniques to better mask your issues. I know, because I did that already. Twice. And therapists don't want to deal with narcissists, because they know we can't change unless we want to. And most of us don't. We get through whatever mental stuff we have going on and get right back to business as usual. Wolf in sheep's clothing. So I live with it, and I am having a hard time right now, once again, trying to accept that I won't ever be emotionally or mentally healthy to have a good, stable relationship or happy life. Answer: all of that sounds like me. I'm wondering if I'm a narcissist. My parents are, right? But aren't narcissists unopen to change and not self-aware? So that means I'm not one. Well, I guess I'm not always self-aware, but I try to be. And I try to change. That counts for something. I just have narcissistic traits because I mimic them as a defense to deal with them. Story 6. The degradation of society due to capitalism and greed. Our jobs being replaced by AI and the environment going to shoot. Story 7. 1. Something bad happening to my children. 2. Dying early and leaving my young children motherless. 3. Whatever the fudge is happening in the US right now. Story 8. Passing. It's inevitable, but you also don't know when it will happen, how it will happen, and what truly happens to you afterwards. Story 9. Being stuck working till retirement age, paying for material shoot. You don't need to have a few good years left to enjoy life before your body gives up and you start to fade away. Story 10. Not living authentically or freely, whether that's because of societal pressure, laws, anxiety, low self-esteem, manipulation, and so on. losing a loved one to a slow, agonizing passing, especially my fiancé. I'm very sensitive, and I can't handle seeing someone that I love so dearly be in so much pain, and I can't take it away. It would eliminate me to see someone beg me with their eyes to end their suffering, and I just can't. Don't get me wrong, if it does come to that, I'm a ride or die, and I will go over and beyond to make them as comfortable and happy as possible, given the situation, but it would wreck me, and I selfishly don't want to lose my fiancé because I don't want to live without him. I know that I'll be okay, and that I will be able to find love again, but I've dreamt of growing old together since we started dating, and having that cut short is unimaginable. Story 11. The infinite, endless, inevitable void that is passing. Also thinking of how small and meaningless I am on a universal scale. These two go hand in hand. Every time I stop and register the scale of life, I start to panic until I force myself to stop. Story 12. Losing my ability to do things for myself. Family history of conditions that lead to this, so I check often and try to stay on top of it. Story 13. Becoming old and in the way, useless, lonely, and regarded as nothing more than an annoyance by those that remain in my life. Outliving my loved ones, then dying isolated and unloved. Story 14. Psychological, emotional, not being able to be there for the people I love or letting my family down. Real fear, but more peripheral. Burning to passing. Silly surface level. Fear. Sharks. Story 15. Being shrunk to the size of an ant while on holiday and having to make my way back home. Monsieur down here. Icy. Shudder. Story 16. Dying in a group chat and nobody noticing. Like I stopped replying and they just assume I'm ghosting again, when in fact I've ghosted life. Story 17. Being in a plane crash. Not just a normal plane crash, but when you're up around 30,000 feet and something goes wrong with the hydraulics and the pilot has to try to steer you out of a spin, and you're just at the mercy of the winds and gravity for a half hour while you slowly dive to your passing. That would be so terrorizing. And it's all I can think about every time I'm up in the air, and we had a little bit of turbulence. Story 18. Realizing that there might still be 30 years in front of me, or maybe even more. I don't think I can do it. TBH. Story 19. Having to choose between watching my children starve after a cataclysmic event or going the missed route. Story 20. My mom and dad had 3 different types of dementia between them. My dad, brother, and I all have one of the associated Alzheimer's genes. My older sister is currently being evaluated, but we've all seen it in her. My older bro is definitely showing signs, and I'm just waiting for myself to disappear in a fog of confusion. It's terrifying. Story 21. Heights. Good luck getting me on top of a tall building with balconies or a roller coaster. I'm astonishingly okay on planes, though. Story 22. The fact that I really have no fears, obviously if I'm in the presence of a specific danger, polar bear, burning ship, etc. I think it's a symptom of my ASD, and I really dislike it. Story 23. What cell phones are doing to people. I have watched people in the same room text. Parents are now buying phones for younger and younger kids. Story 24. I'm scared of my partner dying, but it's really specific. I'm not afraid of us dying in older ages, say 70, but any earlier than that would be too much for me. I'm not even worried about us breaking up, because at least I know they're alive and well and the relationship just ran its course. But the idea of losing my life partner young and never getting to experience half of what I should. Milestones, birthdays, Christmas, fights, holidays, inside jokes, ECT. I just can't bear the thought of it. Story 25. Getting stuck somewhere and dying slowly, like getting stuck under rubble after an earthquake or something. Story 26. Going nonverbal again. Did it for 12 years straight. Don't want to do it again. It's a totally irrational fear because that's not how cerebral palsy works. Story 27. Getting stuck upside down in a small old pipe with water slowly rising and drowning me. Arms pinned. Very weird and specific, but that for some reason sticks with me. Story 28. My biggest realistic fear is that I'm in a building collapse or some other infrastructure failure that stems from this stuff being poorly built and underfunded. Apparently, we have all kinds of money to send to Israel and Ukraine, but heaven forbid I have safe roads. Story 29. Ending up lost in things that don't matter, yet being in the full impression they do. Failing to keep composure and trying to see what does. Story 30. My biggest fear is my house catching on fire. The thought of not being able to get my family and dogs out and then losing everything legit keeps me up at night going over scenarios and plans to get everyone out. Even if I perish doing so, a close second is going through another Katrina-level hurricane. I never want to experience trying to salvage things after 9.5 G of toxic water tossed my house around again. That smell is something I will never forget. Also, spiders. Fudge spiders. Story 31. Right now, as a parent with a 15-month-old daughter, I'm just worried she's going to grow up in a world that's going to be more and more environmentally unstable. Every time I have a moment to myself, I just think, was it the right choice to have a child at this time? Story 32. 69M. I've been wildly successful. I've failed. I lost a 19-year-old kid. I rebuilt from failure and loss to an okay retirement with a woman that is insane about me as I am her. I dropped out of school. I got honor society in college. Right now we are comfy, not rich, not poor. I'm upset I, no longer able to take to the streets against this motherfucker bent on crashing the system for everyone. I fear the fascist state my 20-something grandkids will face. I fear Trump will bring another 2008 or worse like Bush did. I'm too old to earn it all back. I have faith medicine will get me health enough to stand on my feet before the system crashes. Story 33. Everyone has meaningful deep answers, but my biggest fear is someone breaking into my house with the intention of hurting me. That absolutely terrifies me. Story 34. Dying a painful passing, having dementia, ending up permanently disabled and not being able to do anything for myself, having a stroke, becoming bedbound. I'm a nurse and I see all of this every day, and it terrifies me. Story 35. Trump gaining absolute unchecked power. He's already gearing up to enact martial law. He can't wait to shoot American citizens. Story 36. To be cornered by mountain lions. It's one of those scenarios where it seems inevitable that you'll be eaten. Story 37. Cesium 37 and cobalt 60, the holy fudge of radiation. Cesium is a natural decay in uranium and is one of the leading causes of radiation at Chernobyl and Fukushima. Cobalt is the element that got bombarded with neutrons and wants to get rid of them fast. Both have eliminate many. Story 38. It would probably be watching my entire family die in a way in which I could not help them. Think boating accident, and I'm the only one who manages to float the longest. House getting ripped apart by a tornado, watching them fly away. Something like that. Story 39. Having my Reddit comments read aloud by Al while Minecraft parkour plays in the background. Even worse if they make hundreds from it. Story 40. I've seen it, lived it too many times. People get sent to nursing homes and become forgotten, all the while some are losing their minds. This was my grandmother when I was 7 in 1973. It was hard. I don't want that to be me. My dad took care of a lady who had been a client of his. Her church made promises they did not keep. Several members promised to move her belongings out of her apartment. My dad and I did that, took care of all of her belongings. It got real bad when she no longer remembered my dad. It's even harder when it's family. I hope I don't have to go through losing my mind. Peace. Onward. Story 41. Space. When I'm really stressed, I have nightmares about traveling to space. Ironically, I also find space fascinating. Story 42. Ladybugs. I know it's irrational, but I dislike those fuckers. There was one in my lettuce yesterday, dead. I screamed, threw the head across the room, and started crying. My boyfriend came and dealt with everything after that, LOL. Story 43. Top 2. Losing husband children. I don't think I could function. I've known folks who have lost spouses and children, and the amount of pain seems so unbearable. Failing health like cancer, dementia, or something like locked-in syndrome, and having my family take care of me. I don't want to be a burden, and the thought of not being able to do things for myself scares the daylights out of me. Story 44. Spiders. People always tell me it's silly and that they won't hurt me, and I know that, but they still scare me. I don't like looking at them. I'm scared enough of them that I can't eliminate them with a tissue because I can't get that close to them. Raid for life. I don't even like looking at crabs because of the way their legs are shaped. Too spider-like for me. Any other bug? Fine. Spiders. I'll be jumpy for hours. Story 45. Being involved in a minor road accident whilst heading home from a takeaway restaurant with the perfect dinner. I can handle the big shoot, no problem. But this would be a disaster. Story 46. All of this work that I have put in towards something just not being enough someday. I spend so much time, effort, and energy on something to probably just fail on it someday. And it's scary because not everyone can succeed in the same thing. Story 47. I have 2. 1. An apocalyptic event, like zombies, alien invasion, earth-ending meteor, etc. Not because of the aliens or zombies or whatever, because of people. People would descend into uncontrollable, volatile chaos. And humanity is bad enough already. When it comes to horror movies, I'm pretty chill with them and don't scare easily. But see movies like Day After Tomorrow, War of the Worlds, and even TV shows like The Last of Us. I'm guaranteed to have anxiety-induced nightmares for weeks because of the portrayal of society in the beginning of whatever apocalyptic event. And 2, really bad. things happening to my kids, like them being abducted, terrible accident, lost in the woods or at sea, etc., etc. I feel this one is probably the case for most parents anyway, though. Story 48. Being buried alive locked in a small space, but truthfully, having another partner I'm in love with die. Story 49. Being a decade away from retirement, laid off, and never being hired again. Absolutely worst timing that will most likely end up meaning I retire and end my life being poor, as opposed to comfortable. Story 50. I guess dying too soon, not experiencing enough. There is a comment already here that says, living the same day over and over and calling it a life. I guess him out of that situation now, ready to see what life has to offer. But my past choices has made it so I might die soon. That's why I was in that bubble of not living, because I knew the inevitable was near. Now I finally want to live and I'm afraid of passing. Story 51. That something bad happens to my children, e.g., bad accident, passing, not curable illness, being kidnapped, SA, or other bad things. I don't even want to think about it. Story 52. Dying alone and no one finds my body until it has decomposed. I have no family in my area to check in on me and very few friends, so I dislike the thought that if something happens and no one finds out for days or weeks, how will they see me? Story 53. Suddenly losing someone I love and having to live with pain, guilt, and regret because I treated them poorly or wasn't there for them the way I should have been, and not getting the chance to fix it before they passed. Story 54. Getting eaten alive, such as by a grizzly. I'm much more likely to have a heart attack based on family history, and well, I'm 2,000 miles away from any brown bear. But yeah, that's my fear. My mistake was coming across the audio of the grizzly man getting eaten alive. Still haunts me. Story 55. Sometimes I'm afraid of the dark because I think about shadows or bugs crawling on me, so I want to be able to see. That's why I sleep with the light on. But if someone was holding me, like a man, and told me I was safe, I wouldn't be scared. I always have to be my own man and pretend like I'm not scared. It's hard, but men can be scared of the dark, and spiders too. I shouldn't assume. That just means I'd prefer a man who wasn't afraid of those things. That would make us compatible. My stepfather isn't afraid of those things, but he says I shouldn't be afraid of them, even though I am. If he was my biological father, and if I liked him, he'd protect me. But I don't want his protection, because I don't like him. I am not fond of him. That's why I need to protect myself, or need a romantic partner who can fill that void. Story 56. War. I'm a dad, and the thought that my boys might get shipped off to some meat grinder because the rich assholes running the world couldn't talk things out like grown-ups sickens me. Story 57. That the non-committal indecision and insensitivity of the women I express interest in will yet again emotionally destroy me from head to toe. Or rather, that I'll yet again pick a woman with the sort of characteristics prone to do that. Story 58. To continue to live without someone to share my life with. That any future attempts at relationships will seem just like every other, with my partner cheating on me. Story 59. Being forgotten. I'm slowly being erased from the life I used to live, and the people around me are allowing it to continue. I'm no longer able to be on my own due to disability, and I have no one. Seems like I've already been forgotten. Not sure what the point is, I guess. Story 60. I have 2 sharks and cutting my nails. The feel of the metal clippers going under my nails makes me so anxious. The sound of the clippers, just everything scares the hell out of me. Story 61. Probably getting dementia. My mom had it. It was horrible. Took 11 years for her to pass. I told my wife if M diagnosed M ending it. I'm not putting her or the kids through that. Story 62. My life is already bad, and many of the people here fears have come true to me. I have been violation, tortured, being highly injured, having memory loss and a sickness that is painfully and slowly eliminate me. But my biggest fear is not being able to get friends that actually like me. And when I get them, I just hope I can get rid of this sickness and live with them, even if it's just some days. Story 63. Disappointing my family, losing the people I love while being on bad terms, not being able to be there for someone when they need it the most. Story 64. My biggest fear just happened when my dad died. I don't know what to fear beyond that. I feel like my mind is a void inside. I feel empty now. People are actually lucky to feel fear at times. Story 65. It was losing my parents. Then it happened 6 weeks apart. Now it's losing my pets. The one not related to emotional pain. Huge waves in the ocean when I'm in it. Story 66. Not quite dying and having to be looked after because I can't do anything at all. Please just smother me. Story 67. Living forever, unable to die. I'm not very good at life and it doesn't make me happy. Living forever and watching all my loved ones die sounds like torture. Also, time loops. I had it once on plant substance, which is super weird, and still don't understand it. And once on LSD, I knew I was stuck and didn't know how to stop it. I was terrified both of the times. I guess I'm not as afraid of them as I used to be, but I don't really need or want to be stuck like this again, LMAO. Story 68. The only fear I have is my family getting harmed. Other than, I don't fear anything else. Since I don't fear passing, there's nothing to be afraid of in this life. Story 69. Losing my husband. I'm pretty sure I'll pass soon after him because we are soulmates. All I can hope for is we both live to old age. I don't want to be a widow for decades. Story 70. Having to give a speech in front of a huge group of people, all looking at you expectantly. Honestly, I'd pick having to fight a bear over that. Not that I'd win, LOL. Story 71. Only my wife knows my biggest fear. I don't go around broadcasting it because I never want it used against me in any way. Story 72. Having to have someone watch me actively dying. I've seen it too many times, and am all too familiar with how unnerving it is. Story 73. Dying alone. Not just physically, but like the realization that literally no one's going to give a fudge. Story 74. Recently, it has become the loss of my parents. In my eyes, they're still in their 60s due to their health and activity level, but in reality, they are nearly 80. Story 75. Living well past retirement age in poor health, without care, retirement, and living on the street. You know, the American dream. I'm 40 just now, able to start saving for a 401k and have a couple of major medical diagnoses. Future looks bleak, y'all. Story 76. Dying and leaving my 1.5-year-old daughter behind. Or maybe my daughter dying. Oh my God, I'm crying already. Story 77. Something horrible happening to my children. I'm a tough meanie, but I don't think I could survive that. Story 78. I'm so claustrophobic, I can't even walk past a closet without checking for escape routes. If they ever close the doors on me in an elevator, I'll be launching myself through the ceiling like I'm trying to break out of Alcatraz. Story 79. Flying, my only phobia. I realize it's safer than driving, but you crash once and it's pretty much over. Terrible way to die. Story 80. Getting cancer and thinking it's the end, but then I get an experimental cure that saves me, but it also makes me a werewolf. Story 81. Having my baby and then having to be hospitalized shortly after they're born due to lack of sleep, missing the first few weeks of their life, losing my husband before we're old and gray. Story 82. Accidentally having a child. Will be sterile very soon. I don't ever want to be trapped in that situation. It would immediately end everything I've built for myself. Story 83. It's just the thought that as I get older, so do my loved ones, or that one day she won't be here anymore. Story 84. I have been chasing this question for a long time, and I always calm myself like for sure it wouldn't be bugs and spiders. But yeah, it would. I could cope with the passing of a loved one or fighting hell's entire army easier than I could with exposure to a huge jerk spider. Story 85. That I will eventually not have the energy or willpower to take care of myself and slowly rot away to some preventable disease. Diabetes was my absolute biggest fear, as my mom used to think that telling me I'd die by the time I was 40 would get me to sharpen up and just eat less and go to the gym. All it did was make me terrified of literally rotting away because I was lazy or couldn't control what I stuff in my mouth. I am active, but still chunky and very self-aware. Story 86. That one day, I'll be gone and won't be able to watch out for my kids anymore. We do the best we can to make sure they'll be okay without us, and we're supposed to take comfort in knowing that they will. I'm not afraid of being gone. That happens to us all. I'm afraid of not being there for them anymore. Story 87. Tell my younger sister about mother's passing. A month passed as she died due to an accident. And now I'm just talking about the fact that she